I'm Liz Van Vliet. Welcome to Being Indispensable, the podcast for executive and personal assistants. If, like me, you want to become indispensable to your manager, then this is the place where you'll get the tips and techniques and industry insights that will help you achieve exactly that. Hello, podcast peeps. That's a new one, isn't it? I don't think I've introduced an episode that way. But in the spirit of new things, this is my first episode of not road ramblings, it's walk ramblings. And when I say walk, that's probably overstating it. It's more of a stroll. Anyway, I wanted to check in because I'm feeling like it's, what's the date today? Early September. And consistency, as one of my words for 2017, is the last thing that you would be describing me as over the last couple of months when it comes to the podcast. And I apologise for that. There's going to be lots of R's in this episode too, which I may or may not edit out. But I'm recording this episode as I stroll along from Manly around to Fairybower, and as I said, it's just a check-in because unfortunately things have been conspiring against me getting an episode out as regularly as I had wanted to, especially in comparison to the first part of the year where I was recording and releasing an episode every week. And I'll be truthful in saying that a lot of the reasons, I think a large proportion of the reason why I've not been releasing an episode, it's probably been a lot in my own head because I've been struggling a lot with the dreaded imposter syndrome. So, in checking in with you today, as always, I'm going to be brutally honest and tell you that I have been struggling something vicious with imposter syndrome, or that feeling, if you don't know what I mean when I describe imposter syndrome. I've talked about it before in earlier episodes, which I'll put a link to in the show notes. But for me, the way this manifests is that if you think about apologies for this wind, it's quite vicious. For me, the amount of positive reinforcement that I get from people seems to elicit an inverse or opposite response in the subconscious that means that instead of the positive reinforcement actually making me feel more positive and motivated to continue what I'm doing, it actually seems to have the opposite effect. And it makes me feel even less qualified and less capable and less valuable. And that is a very weird sensation. But I have been struggling terribly with anxiety over the last couple of months. Pretty much since I came back from, well, actually it was before I went overseas. And this all coincides with a real increase in offers and invitations from people to work with them on sharing my ideas and my experiences when it comes to, you know, being resilient and being indispensable. So the whole concept of, doing your best work and being, the best you can be as an executive assistant, and to do that, needing to invest in your own learning in terms of your skills, your behaviours, and the values that you have that make you an indispensable assistant. I've had a lot of people wanting to, inviting me to work with them, and that's been fantastic. But for me, for somebody who struggles so badly with feeling inadequate and not enough when it comes to what I have to offer, it's been a real challenge, and I haven't been winning that battle, I'll be honest. So I wanted to share that with you because, I think that as much as I can project that, as much as I want to be able to help other people overcome the things that are holding them back in their role, I have still a lot of work to do when it comes to the things that are holding me back. And it's a work in progress. And as I like to say, it's progress over perfection. But I'll be truthful and say that I have been struggling so badly with my anxiety that every day my husband comes home and says to me, "How's it going? How's being indispensable being today?" Which is his sort of line. And there's been most days in the recent months where I've said, talk to me about it tomorrow, because I have just wanted to push it all away. And a large part of that has been about people actually wanting people actually asking me to do things for them that involve me putting a value on myself. So we've got to the crux of the issue. That's the crux of the issue. That, like many of you, I struggle to value myself. And the reason I have loved this whole podcasting gig up until now has been that it has been something that I could put out there. It's a passion project. There's no, I've not been asking for any payment. But in, recent months, the things that I've been doing have been things that people have been asking me, if we were to get you to do X, Y, Z, what would that cost us? Or what would you charge? And the irony is that I have a sales background. I'm used to telling people in my olden days, that sounds awful, but in my IBM days, all I did was tell people how much things were. But the difference was that they weren't paying for me. They were paying for a product or a service that I was selling on behalf of, for many years IBM, for other companies for a few years there. But now when people approach me, it's regarding me delivering me in some form or another, whether that's coaching, whether that's training, whether that's developing a presentation. And my anxiety has been in high gear about that. So I think the only thing I can say is that the fact that I'm going to put this episode out tells you that I'm working really hard not to let my fear of failure and my imposter syndrome stop me from actually doing what I feel is, or what I know is something that I've been, the universe has really keeps telling me I need to keep doing, because I do get so much positive feedback from people about the difference that my podcast makes, and the help that they feel that they get from not just what I talk about in the episodes, but the information that I suggest that they then go and read or investigate. So, yeah, it's a work in progress, overcoming imposter syndrome, and it's something that I want to let my flight reflex be in control. I want to run and hide. I want to stop podcasting. I want to take my website down. I want to stop putting content out. But that would be doing a disservice to me, because I've just got to get past that fear and that anxiety and keep putting one foot in front of the other. So thanks for listening, and I hope that you can take away something from this episode. But at the very least, it'll give you an insight into why my episodes have been a little bit sporadic. And look, honestly, just to finish that off, aside from these issues, this anxiety, I have been down with the dreadful flu. So that explains the last couple of weeks at least. But onwards and upwards, as I say. Without the rain, there can be no rainbow. Have a great week. Thanks for listening to Being Indispensable. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Why don't you subscribe so that you get episodes automatically? And I'd love it if you could leave a review. Head on over to my website, beingindispensable.com, for the show notes.